Guten Erev Shabbos, everybody. Ephraim Schwartz calling you here from the holy city of Carmiel, from my office, with a little different view this time because my father said I keep showing my messy desk. So we turned it around the camera a little bit. Hopefully this is good. And we come to Parshas Vayigash. Parshas Vayigash perhaps is my favorite parsha in the Torah, if one can have favorite parshas, but particularly because it's my bar mitzvah parsha. Right, I can even still learn it. Vayigash elav Yehuda, vayoy, maybe Adoni Yidaber no Avdacha Davar B'Yaznei Adoni. I could do it in my sleep. Rabbi Schluss, who taught me by Bar Mitzvah lessons in Detroit, knocked it into my brain, and you can just wake me up at any time, and I can do Parshas Vayigash for you. But it's an exciting parsha. It's a fun parsha. It's a powerful parsha. It's a dramatic parsha. Maybe all of those things that I've part of my personality as well. And bar mitzvahs are certainly the most momentous occasion, I think, in a person, the first real momentous occasion in a person's life, since you're bris pretty much, which wasn't that memorable, thank God. And it's a day that you can first lead people in the tzibur, in davening, in reading the Torah. Your family is there, cousins, uncles, brothers, teachers, friends. You're speaking, it's that moment that you really become. And of course, to make it all better, we get a lot of presents for your bar mitzvah. It's a time of presents, the biggest present that you'll ever get since till your wedding, probably. Now, my bar mitzvah presents, certainly, I would say my most favorite ones were usually either checks or maybe electronics and stuff like that. But I can tell you today, as I look around my office here and I see the svarim that I have here, that there are so many of them that I got from my bar mitzvah that I appreciate more than all that money and electronics that are certainly not around anymore. I mean, my Uncle Mendy, alav shalom, bought me a shas for my bar mitzvah, which I still use today. My Tante Chansi got me my Rambam with her Uncle Heshi. They got my Rambam, the set of Rambam that I have, and so many different Svarim that I got for my bar mitzvah, Mishnayos. And those are real presents. And this is, of course, Hanukkah time is a time when plenty of people are giving presents, and we had Black Friday, and the whole world is into these presents this season of my bar mitzvah, which is certainly appropriate. And we open up our parsha, and we, of course, have presents as well in our parsha. And when the Torah tells us about presents, right, then we have to understand there's obviously a deeper meaning. And here we have the story of Yosef being reunited with his brothers, and he's sending presents with them to go bring his father back to Egypt to go ahead and to finally reunite them. And one has to ask themselves, why do you need a present for? You have to send your father a present? I mean, is there anything better than you can get Yaakov Avinu than the fact that Yosef, his son, is alive? I mean, everything else seemingly should be, minuscule compared to that. Is there anything more that you could do for the brothers, right, than the fact telling them that you forgive them, that you're one with them, that what they've been, having nightmares about over the past 20 years, or feelings of guilt over all of these years that they did what they did to their father and to Yosef, that he's alive, and then you're going to give them some presents that really changes everything. So there's a hidden meaning, there's ideas behind these presents, particularly when the Torah specifically tells you about them, that is worthwhile certainly exploring. So let's take a look and let's go through some of the ideas that are brought down. It says, Vayasu came to Yosef. Yosef gives them agalos al pi paro, and he gives them wagons, right? Agalos. Now, what is the significance of sending wagons to him? Of course, they have to transport them, but there's something more significant than that, because we see that it's really those wagons that really wake up Yaakov Avinu and gets him to appreciate that Yosef is alive. Because it tells him, he doesn't believe them. Then they told him, it's called Yosef, tell him everything that Yosef had told him. He sees these wagons, so that Yosef sent to bring him, and Yaakov became alive again. What is it about those wagons? So, of course, we have the Medrash or the Chazal that tell us that the wagons are supposed to remind Yaakov Avinu of the Egla Arufa, that halacha of a calf that we decapitate when we find a dead body that is in between two cities. All the sages go out and they break the neck of the calf, and they say, our hands have not spilled this blood. And it seems that Yosef was learning this with Yaakov before he left, and he wanted to show his father 20 years later, I'm still in the parsha, I'm still in the sugya, I still remember what we learned, I haven't forgotten my Torah. But of course, it's a little bit deeper than that as well, because why specifically was that what they were learning? Well, Yosef's last interaction with Yaakov really was, Yaakov was taking him to go to his brothers in Shechem. And when Yosef is leaving, Yaakov starts to escort him as he leaves. And he's saying, it's all right, Dad, I can really stay, but, you can go back home. I can make it on my own. And Yaakov tells him, no, I'm not allowed to go ahead and to leave you to go on your own. Why? Because there's a halacha of eglat rufa. When we find a body, something that happens to somebody on the road, right? And he's dead. What's the story? We take all of the rabbis and all the sages and we say, our hands have not spilt this blood. Why would they be culpable? Because they didn't escort him. And therefore, I have to escort you as well. And so that was why he learned that last halacha with him. But it's even more than that, right? Because the word agalot, right, really comes from the word igul, a circle. And I saw the Shvilei Pinchas says something so powerful. What Yosef is telling Yaakov, you're going to come down to Mitzrayim, but remember that life is a circle, right? There's a circle of life. There's ups, and it goes down, and it goes around, and it goes around, and it goes around. And the wheels on the wagon go round, round, round. And when they're going around, realize that you were down, and now you're coming back up again. And you're going to be going down to Mitzrayim, but don't worry. You're going to be coming back out again. Life is a circle. He says such a powerful idea. When we read the Ashrei, it says, Ashrei Yosef Reisecha, and every single one, every single letter of the Aleph base is there. Gadol Hashem, Dor L'Dor, Yishabach Masecha, Hadar Kavod Edecha, Hey, Vav, Zayin. Except one letter is missing, the letter Nun, because Nun stands for Nefila, falling down. However, the Gemara tells us, right, that it throws it back in the next pasuk, Somech Hashem L'chol HaNoflim. Hashem will support all those that are fallen. The Shvilei Pinchas points out, it's fascinating, right, that the letter Nun is half of the letter Samach, right? You put two nuns together, you've got a Samach, right? You know what a nofel is? A nofel is somebody that only sees half the picture. He only sees the wagon going down, right? Do you know what the Samach is? The Samach is when it comes back up again. When we see the full circle, that Hashem is just bringing you down to bring you back up, and that there's going to be this circle that goes around. In fact, he says that's what the word nes is. What's a miracle? A miracle is when we see something terrible, and we see that in the field, but then all of a sudden, boom, we go ahead and we see the full circle, how Hashem was really revolving it the entire time. Nes is nun that turns into a samach. That's what a nes is. So therefore, and that lifts us up. So therefore, we understand the agalos, the wagons that he sends. Then we see something else. He gives them new clothing. Now, why would he need to give them new clothing? Changes of clothing. The word chalifos really means changes of clothing. So I saw one idea, which is very interesting. It says that Yosef really owed them clothing, because when he made that libel against Binyamin, that Binyamin had stolen the thing, it says, Vayikru simlosam. They all ripped their garments. Now, they ripped their garments, and so Yosef was really the cause of that. So therefore, he's replacing those garments. But there's something deeper than that as well, because the theme of garments goes through this story from beginning to end. The brothers, it starts off with Yosef's coat that he gets, which the brothers take and they rip off him and they dip it in blood. And that's where the whole story begins, with what they did to Yosef's clothing. Yehuda himself loses his clothing. He gives it to Tamar in that story, and he has to redeem his clothing back from them. The brothers rip their clothing just like they ripped off Yosef's clothing. And Yosef is saying, we can change our clothes. Yosef himself experienced that change of clothes. Why? He's down in Mitzrayim, and they take off his clothing, and they put him into prison garb. And then power brings him up, and the first thing he does, he gives him brand new clothing. He's a king now. He sees that circle. He sees that clothing are chalifos that can go ahead and be changed, that we can go ahead and move up, that we can get beyond all of that past and the clothing that identified us in the past, and we can get brand spanking new clothing, in fact. Interestingly enough, Binyamin, though, gets 5 sets of clothing. Why does Binyamin get 5 sets of clothing? So again, the Medrash tells us that it's not about Binyamin, because Binyamin wasn't participant in Yosef's sale. Rather, this is Binyamin's descendant, Mordechai Hatzadik. Later on, in the city of Shushan, when Haman makes his decree against the Jews, Mordechai as well takes off his clothing, and he puts on big day sack. He puts on sackcloth, and then what happens? The king takes him up and gives him 5 new garments as well. Fascinating. There are 2 people that we know are called the tzaddik. We have Yosef HaTzaddik and we have Mordechai HaTzaddik. They both go through these clothing changes. And both of them are libeled by the Jewish people. Mordechai Tzaddik, the Jewish people look at him and say, what are you doing? You're endangering us. Why won't you bow down to Haman? Just go with the flow. Don't go ahead and think that you're bigger than everybody else and that everybody should bow down to you, right? Bow down to him, right? Similarly by Yosef, we had the same type of idea. What, you think everybody's going to bow down to you, Yosef? But the truth of the matter is, they're speaking prophecy. The words of Hashem. We stand up for Hashem. Hashem is running this world. And Hashem is going to give you the new clothing. He gives Binyamin 300 golden coins. What are the 300 golden coins? Mordechai is 274 in Gematria, plus 26 more is the Shem Hashem, the name of Hashem. That's what gives Mordechai, the descendant of Yosef, these new clothing. And again, he's telling the brothers, we can change, we can move beyond this, we can put on new clothing together. The last gift that he has is the Asara Chamorim. He gives them 10 donkeys, taking all of the Tuv Mitzrayim, all of the good of Egypt. What are the good of Egypt? What are these 10 donkeys? The number 10 is the 10 brothers that sold Yosef. And Yosef is telling them, and he's telling his father, the Sfas Emes says, he says, you know what it is? He's telling them that we're just donkeys carrying the good of Mitzrayim. This is not about you selling me down. This is not about what Hashem is the one that's orchestrating everything that took place over here. And we are merely chamorim, 10 donkeys schlepping down the good of Mitzrayim. We're just pawns that Hashem is riding upon us, and Hashem is doing this in order to bring us to the good that we need. And don't be angry, Yaakov, at my brothers for doing this. Don't be upset that you're coming down to Mitzrayim, right? Because we're just donkeys, and this is Hashem bringing us up. In fact, the Sfas Emes says one more idea. He says, remember Yaakov Avinu, you told Esav, Yeshli shor v'chamor, I have an ox and I have a donkey, right? And then that's why I can't go with you, right? I can't go ahead because once I have this ox and I have this donkey. I'm not scared. I'm not worried, right? What is the shor? The shor is Yosef. What is the chamor? The chamor is Mashiach ben David that will be riding on a donkey, right? Yosef is telling Yaakov Avinu, don't worry, you have the wagons, I'm your shore, we're here, and these are the chamarim. This is about Mashiach, this is about redemption, this is about going down into Gullus in order to bring us back up again. These are the presents that Yosef sends. These are the birthday presents. These are the presents that the message that we have to take with us in our Gullus. Life is a circle. The biggest present that we can give to somebody is to realize and to let them know that lesson, that it's going to turn around. And it looks like you're going downhill, but you're really just turning up again. And we have the ability to change. We have the ability to grow. And Hashem should soon bring us Mashiach ben David with the true Geula, the redemption. Have a fantastic Shabbos. Subscribe to my weekly email. And happy birthday, Rabbi Schwartz, and to all of those out there celebrating their birthday. We're coming to a new year, and it should be a year when the Shamayim reopen again. And I see you all back here again.